Hi, everybody. Angel here. Hope you guys are doing great wherever you are in the world. And today I'm excited to speak with Sebastian of Vegan in Every Country. So we'll get started very soon. And if you missed any of the previous conversations that we've had over the last few months, you can find them on IGTV on my page. You can just look under the IG interview section. Hi there.
Hey, how you doing?
Fine. How are you?
I'm good.
Good, good. Thanks for taking the time. I know everybody's really busy.
No, it's cool. Thank you for inviting me.
Awesome. So I did post our topics in a kind of a summary format down below. I just pinned the comments just to kind of help to follow along. And I just want to say hi to anyone else who's joining. And if you do have questions and comments for Sebastian as we go along, please just leave them down in the comment section below and he'll be happy to answer. So while we wait for people to join and for questions, Sebastian, I think we should just jump right in because we have a lot of topics.
Cool. Cool, no problem.
Awesome.
All right. I'm
So
gonna
the
change my
first,
glasses so I can see. So I
okay,
can read the comments.
okay, yes, okay, awesome. So the first question for you is, Sebastian, if you could share with us, please, how you started your vegan journey and how you ended up to where you are today.
Cool. So I've been vegan about 5 years now. So I was living in Indonesia, and I think there was a few things that were kind of going on at that time. So one of them, I was creating some training courses, and one of them was about values and about how if you live your life in balance with your values, you should have a greater sense of happiness, right?
Yep.
And I was going out to like villages and seeing people, and they'd say, "Oh, what do you want to eat?" And I'd say, "Oh, whatever you're having." They say, "Oh, we're having chicken." Okay, it sounds great. Okay, can you help me kill the chicken? Yeah, and and then I realized that I'm full of it. I'm talking about values. I'm talking about like facing things and being your most honest self. And I didn't want to face that, right? I didn't want to look at it. I didn't want to deal with that. And yeah, it was time to make that change. And my wife had gone vegan 6 months before,
Okay.
for health reasons. And I
Hmm.
was like, no, don't talk to me about it. I'm a guy. I want to eat steak, and I'm a man. And yeah,
Yeah, yeah. But well, first of all, I want to say kudos and a shout out to your wife. It is so awesome when I hear guys say, and I think you're like probably the fifth person, the fifth guy to say this, that his wife or partner was vegan before he was. And so I just love it. So shout out to all the women here. And secondly, I can kind of relate to what you're saying because it's like, if you're not willing to actually kill the animal that you're going to eat, then why on earth are we eating it? And I can definitely understand the kind of I guess cognitive dissonance is what some people would call it when you're faced with that reality that you're not willing to do it yourself, but why would you pay someone else to do it?
yeah. And I figured if I can't do it myself, I won't have someone do it for me. And it clicks, right? And it changes. And then all of a sudden, I was that guy in the supermarket, like looking for the biggest piece of meat, going, "Yo, this is an autopsy in here. This is wrong. I,
Yeah,
ca- I can't participate in this anymore."
yeah,
And I know I like the taste of meat. I know I do, but I can't pay that price.
yeah. Yeah. And
And
it's so interesting that you brought up the whole male thing too, because I listened to a podcast recently and there was this topic about how, you know, it's not manly to be vegan. And then someone on the panel said something that was so powerful, and they said, but it's manly to stand up for, animal rights, for what you feel is right, and to,
justice.
to just kind of go against the grain. In other words, like, don't just, I call it don't drink the Kool-Aid, but it was really, really a great perspective that the person had, that it is manly to stand up and say, yes, I am vegan, and it doesn't matter what society says, and yes, I can still be strong, etc., and not, be unmanly, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's still this perception of a vegetarian and being weak and all of this stuff, right? And those are changing, right? I mean, much love to all the bodybuilders out there and the strong guys that are kind of changing that dynamic so we can be
Yeah.
macho and vegan, right?
It's
Um,
true. It's true. It's true. And that whole Game Changers documentary, just like woof, that kind of
yeah,
changed a lot
exactly.
of people's minds as well. So besides the other guys who are out there and gals who are out there, showing that you can still, be physically strong and still be a vegan.
Yeah, exactly. And all this misinformation that we have, right? Like, where do you get your protein? And you're a guy, you need to get lots of protein so you can be strong and all this kind of stuff, right? And it's a process, eh?
Yeah, yeah. So wow, and I just want to say one last point on that. It's so interesting that it clicked for you when you were doing an exercise about values. Like, I find that really fascinating as well, because a lot of us don't have that opportunity to even like do that self-study. it
Yeah.
it, it kind of happened for me. It happened for health reasons as well. And then I learned about all of the cruelty and everything. So I started on what we would call a vegan diet or a plant-based diet. And then when I learned about all the cruelty, I was like, no, 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 I can't, participate in that. So then it went to my lifestyle, skincare, furniture, et cetera, et cetera. So I think you were really lucky in some sense to have that mirror put in front of you in terms of your values as well.
Well, I was delivering it too, and so and so I'm telling people like, you need to live in accordance with your values, and you need to face everything, la la la. And as I'm writing this course, I'm like, I'm full of it.
Yeah.
I'm telling people like what to do and how to be more fulfilled and live a value-based life because that will bring you contentment and la la la. And I'm not doing it myself. And how can I go and deliver this thing if I'm not doing it?
Yeah, yeah. Wow. I just want to say hi and thanks to anyone else who's on the live right now. And if you do have questions or comments for Sebastian, you can just put them down below. And while we wait for questions or comments, let's go to a vegan in every country. When I discovered your page, I was so excited. Yeah, I was so excited because, you know, it's such a cool project. I think it's such an important and powerful project. So tell us, please, a little bit about the history of vegan in every country. When, why, how, what, all of that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's different, right? So I love traveling. I've traveled a lot. I've been to almost 100 countries now, like, and I'm
Ooh,
just, and that's kind of like my mission in life to kind of go everywhere. Well,
wow.
COVID stopped that, right?
I
So,
know.
yeah, so that, and I'm missing, and I live on a tiny island, so like I'm really kind of missing that.
Yeah.
And I noticed like we kind of always have these, like aspirational vegans dream for a vegan world, right? Like, oh, one day, right?
Yep.
Um,
Vegan is the future.
yeah, that's it. It was going to be a vegan world, and so I was just like, so in order to be a vegan world, there needs to be vegans everywhere, right? Then there should be vegans in every country, right? And I was like, yeah, I wonder if I could find like vegans in every country. Is that a real thing? I don't know. Let's try it. So it only started about September
Oh, wow.
this year. So I went like on a mission to try and first of all, like it's like the people right? So the kind of the first posts were guys that I knew, and they were like, "Oh yeah, cool idea. Let's do it. Let's do it." And I'm realizing how hard it is and why nobody did it because it's
Yeah.
really challenging to find. For a bunch of reasons, because sometimes you find people, but people are shy or they don't, you know, all these kind of stuff, right? Um, yeah, and why? And I mean, why not? You know, and I think like our project is kind of people either get it or they don't. You know, some people have said, "What's the point? Like, what are you doing?" Like,
Oh,
it's not for everybody. And other people are like, "Wow, this is amazing! This is
I
so
think it's
cool!" Right?
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool, right? But it's just, and you know, and yeah, why not? It's just, you know, let's. It's fun, right? Is there vegans in every country? Will we find them? I don't know. I'm hoping so. Some countries are going to be really challenging, but you know, but
Mhm.
that's the game, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, I love it. And I really, I'm just like fingers crossed that you will achieve this goal because I think it would just be super awesome and such a showcase and an example of, you know, how veganism can actually be successful regardless of what country you're in, which your
Yeah,
culture, your traditions and all of that.
yeah, and it really resonated with some people. You know, we had some posts, like we had one post that really blew up. There was a girl from Nigeria who posted. And it got people thinking like, yeah, like I mean, we call it vegan now, right? But it's been around, right? And different cultures and traditions have kind of had this plant-based way of living because that was the main option, right? Because you know this idea of a meat-eating Western diet, right, is kind of okay. It's being copy and pasted everywhere now, but it wasn't really affordable for a lot of people, right? Um, and I think what's been really great, I think what's really been inspiring is that we found some, you know, some interesting countries right at the beginning that got people like, whoa, you know, because people would say like, oh yeah, but it's difficult in my country and la la la. But when I've got like Ghana and Syria and Kazakhstan and whatever, like, oh yeah, like okay, then I suck. Then of course I can do
Yeah,
it.
yeah, no more excuses. No more
I mean,
excuses.
the Syria one was really great actually. So I was in touch with this Syrian woman who's in the UK, and she was telling me about like her niece, and she's really into it, and you know, a young girl who's in Damascus, been living in Syria all this time, and just really into it and really and you know and it just gets you thinking like that the situation that they've been facing there for some time and this is a lifestyle about compassion, right? um and it gets you questioning like that if yeah if we all go this way, like would there be more wars? I don't know, I hope not.
No,
Because
and that's
we're
such a
too
good
connected.
point. That is such a good point. And you know, I've heard people say like you know, when humans eat animals, you know, we're eating all of that suffering and aggression and violence. And so that translates into our behavior and our energy and you know what we give off. And so you know, I think you're hitting on a point.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I was hearing that when I was living in Indonesia as well, like the majority of the population is Muslim. So they when they eat animals, they do it the halal way, where they you know they bleed out the animal, right? And the idea behind that is that it releases the adrenaline from the animal because when you kill this animal, it goes into shock, and that adrenaline goes into the flesh, and they believe that it contaminates the flesh as well, right? And so this idea of that you know the situations that these animals live in, as well as being you know pumped with hormones and all of the stuff that kind of goes on with these, we're digesting this. It's going into us. It's into our systems, right? Um, and I'm hippy dippy, right? I lived in Bali all this time, right? And of course, I kind of believe this, right? That we need to be in good balance, in good karma, and that's also what we do, what we say, what we eat. And yeah, I noticed like afterwards, just walking around and looking at these animals that are on the street, like cows and chickens and whatever, and and feeling, yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for the way I've been living. And you see in their eyes, and you just and you feel like, yeah, you have a soul like me. And I had cats at home, right? And yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, it is a big awakening, I have to say. I mean, I went through similar feelings as well, like lots of remorse and regret and compassion. And frustration and, so I can definitely feel some of what you're saying.
Yeah. So I mean, so anybody who just like, oh, don't you want to just eat a steak and whatever and blah, and y- you know what? There's nothing you can offer me that gives me this level of contentment now. And I feel that I'm living in a balanced way,
Yeah.
in a conscious way, and in a way that it took a long time for me to take them blinkers off. I came to this far too late,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's my regret.
Yeah.
And now them blinkers are off. How could I ever put them on again?
Yeah, and I think like your project too is helping a lot of people to take those blinkers and blinders and rose-colored glasses off and really face the reality, and also see that it is possible. A lot of people for many, many years, a lot of us felt, well, it's just not possible. No, it's too hard. No, no, no. So, again, I think your project is awesome. I think we have a little pause here. Ah, yeah, you're back.
Okay,
It's
cool.
okay.
So go
Oh,
on, repeat
it's
that
a
again.
yeah, no, no. I mean, I think your project is really cool because it's demonstrating that it's possible. A lot of people for many years, including myself, like, no, that's not possible. I can't be, there's no way you could really be vegan, especially when you go out to eat. It's just so complicated. So again, I think your project is awesome. So let's go to our next question, which is basically, what do you ask people to do for vegan in every country, in terms of like, when they're making their videos? What are their requirements, quote unquote, to be featured as a vegan in every country?
Cool. Well, there are limitations, right? And the limitations is that it's one.
You're back.
I assume you can still hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you now. So the limitations are,
Hi, can you still hear me?
yeah.
Okay, great. Sorry about these connection issues. So yeah, so I was saying about yeah, the limitations is about giving clarity for the project, right? So, we can only have one post per country, otherwise it gets really confusing. We got 500 posts from the States and whatever and Laura. So that's the kind of the limitations on it. But once we do find people, and we have like a Facebook group that anybody can engage with and put posts and whatever. But the posts on the Instagram is that we connect with the guys, whoever it is that wants to do it. We say, cool, we don't have your country featured yet. It should be under 10 seconds, around 10 seconds, so people don't give like a 30-minute dialogue. Uh, and, and the messages go vegan, right? So that's what we're asking every country to say. So we just want to know that they're in what country they're in, so that they would say, hi, I'm in Mexico. Mexico says go vegan. So that's all that we're really asking. And if they want to promote anything or talk about anything or share anything, that's cool. But keep it short so we don't lose sight of the message. And you can see like 40 countries already, so it's quick to scroll through and see these guys and like, wow, look, the world is really going like that, right? Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. And so, how can vegans help you, in this project? How can other vegans get involved in your project?
Yeah. So word of mouth is the best way because, as much as I'm trying to find somebody, they wonder who this crazy person is contacting them, trying to ask them to send them a video. Um, so somebody that knows somebody is a much easier way. And it's amazing how many people are connected to somebody in another part of the world. You start talking to one person who says, hey, I know a guy in Mexico, and the Mexico guy says, oh, I know a guy in Chile, and the Chilean knows somebody in Brazil, and like that. And so and and really like most of the posts are as a result of somebody putting us in contact with somebody. So that's how we
That's
really need people.
wonderful.
Yeah, and then just get and there are a lot of people who are joining like the Facebook group as well, that want to know about like, hey, I want to go to Kenya. Like, what is that like? You know, like, will I be able to be vegan there? And you connect with people that are directly there and getting like on the ground like advice. Yeah, and we've as a result of that, there was some guys that were moving from Zimbabwe. They moved to Rwanda. We put them in touch with people, and yeah, it's really nice.
I
Yeah, the
love
guys in
that.
Africa are cool. The guys in Africa are super cool. Like, I'm really loving that.
Yeah, no, and I love that it's like a global network as well. Like, like and also it's kind of like, like how you have Happy Cow when you're going to a different country or a different city and you look up, hey, where are the vegans places in those places? And like with your project in your group, if people are going especially to like, remote locations, the people in your community can really help people out because obviously, you can't Google everything. So a lot of things are actually very local and it's so cool that you have people like, all over the world basically.
And it's just finding like some really really interesting projects that's been happening. So there's like this woman who's out in Fiji, like she's got this kind of raw restaurant thing that's going on over there. There's these guys in Uganda, they set up a whole football team called Vegan Uganda,
Oh,
and their veganism is spread by going and playing on the field, right?
oh wow.
Um, just so many. I spoke to somebody in Belize the other day who are they're trying to create a vegan town. They're trying with businesses and restaurants and shops and everything. So that project seems to be getting off the ground. Just so many really some vets in Peru that go around like promoting veganism through their work there as well.
Yeah,
A,
yeah.
ba a baker in Iran who's like going
Amazing.
around and giving people cookies to kind of convert them
Oh,
to the vegan in Iran, like, and what are all the images we have only for Iran, right? They're baking, they're
amazing.
baking cookies over there.
Amazing. I love that. And you did mention Belize, and one of the topics we were going to cover today is if you could just give us a couple of your recent features, and I think Belize was one of the recent ones.
Yeah, so well, the very last one was Azerbaijan, actually, where this very interesting woman there who has set up. She's got like a vegan cafe, restaurant, yoga retreat, a charity that yeah, doing lots of interesting stuff.
Wow.
The guys in Belize, as I said, like they're trying to start a community there that's kind of based on veganism. Um, oh my God, so many. The guy out in Rwanda, they're trying to work with the government to change the law. And so currently the law in Rwanda only protects animals in game parks. And they
Oh.
found some sympathetic politicians that are looking to see could they extend that law to all animals, so all animals are protected. Can you imagine if that's in the law of a nation?
And that would be
Oh,
such a precedent for other countries as well.
yeah, like Rwanda's very like a lot of things you see about Rwanda, they're super cool, right? I
Yeah.
don't know if it's like 70% of their government are female. I don't know. Is there something to do with
Yeah.
that?
Yeah,
More
probably.
compassion?
I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say yes. No,
No
it's
bias,
true.
right?
Yeah, no, no, no bias at all. No, no, no. I'm just gonna say yes. Shout out to all
But
the women.
they're really rocking it, and it's like one of the cleanest countries in Africa. Like they're very, very progressive, eh?
Yeah, yeah.
And this is what I really like, that we don't, we just see like continents, Africa, Asia, blah 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 blah, right? And we don't see those specific countries and what they're doing, and we have all of these stereotypes and thoughts and feelings about what they're like, but and hopefully it's a way of kind of changing those things, right? When you see a whole football team and you see these guys changing the law and like
Yeah.
the one in Nigeria, like that, there was I don't know if you know the guy Badass Vegan, John Lewis.
Yes, I
He
do.
he saw the post from Nigeria, this woman saying, "Hey, we're thriving," blah, blah, blah. he reposted it, and we got like 27,000 views on that video, right? So,
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I follow him and I love his he goes live frequently and like does Q&As and all of that. So yeah, yeah. That's really awesome though that he shared. Yeah,
yeah, it was really
cool.
cool. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, it was
So
great
let
because we saw that and we were freaking out. So the girl from Nigeria was chatting to me, and we were both like freaking out, like, "What's going on?"
it's true, it's true. Well, you know, he has a huge following.
Yeah, yeah, massive, right?
Yeah, huge.
Yeah,
So I shout out to John there. Awesome.
yeah, yeah. Much love, thank you.
Awesome. So, while we wait for folks to join in for questions, let's go to your Facebook group. And I know you've mentioned it already, but I guess like what's required to join your Facebook group? You know, what happens in your Facebook group?
Yeah. So, no requirement, vegans, vegan curious, like whatever, right? So it's open to anybody to come in, to come and explore, to come and post. It's still quite new, so the hope is that it's going to be like a place for people to connect and to get in touch with each other. People kind of often post about, what's going on in their country, or they want to share something. Um, yeah, so it's just a group for the people by the people, to just
And
connect with
for
each
the
other.
people. All
There
right.
you go. Yeah.
And what is the name of the Facebook group?
It's the same, vegan in every country. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, vegan in every country.
Well, I'm going to be joining that group. So I am super looking forward to it and I will share it in some other vegan groups that I am a part of.
Cool,
Yes.
much love.
Yes, yes. So let's go to our next topic, which is naysayers, critics, skeptics of our vegan diet and lifestyle. How do you handle those people?
Yeah. So for me, it's just connecting with your most genuine self, right? And just going back to, why did you do this in the first place, right? And so, and it can be difficult when I'm living somewhere now where it's like this farming culture, and, being a vegan is like being a lunatic, right? But whatever, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I
I
mean,
know,
yeah.
I know why I'm doing this. I connect with that. I speak truth to nonsense. I try not to be aggressive, because that's not really the way. I try to be a positive role model for this lifestyle, and just show that, like, it's a beautiful way to live, and why I've chosen this way. And then after, like, the nonsense, people then will come with like real questions,
Yeah.
and I want to know things, and just speaking with compassion. I mean, I didn't follow this for a really long time, and I was very hesitant to do that as well. So I have no room to criticize, right? Um, but I think if we attack people, different people are affected in different ways, right? And I understand that, right? And much love to all the people who do the demonstrations and all the rest of it. Some people are really affected and changed by that as well. But I think we have to make our veganism in the way that we feel is right. And for me, it's just being that positive role model, and sitting and talking with people, and saying, like, okay, you can ask me, you can ask. And sometimes, like, at the beginning, we don't always have the questions, right? Have the answers, right?
Yeah.
People will say, like, oh, but what about wool? What's your thing with wool? And you're like, oh, I don't know. I need to go and find that out. Um, and that's about us kind of connecting and understanding why we're doing that, and why we believe in that. And there is a danger that we feel that we have to be like the most researched, and we need to have all the information, blah, blah, blah. But I think just knowing enough, and knowing that we're on the right kind of path, and just being safe and feeling okay to kind of have those conversations, and understand that you get it wrong sometimes. That's okay, but just go and connect with why you did that in the first place, right? And make sure that you understand the facts.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I appreciate you bringing up research, and because I think that's super important. And your example of wool, for me, my example is honey, and like why vegans don't, you know, want to consume honey or beeswax. And so, because that never really, you know, quite clicked with me until I started to like see debates about it, to be honest with you. And that's like, oh, right. Yeah. So now I understand.
Yeah, I wasn't clear at the beginning. I was like, I don't know, like, are we calling for labor rights for bees? I don't know, like, what's the situation, right? And then you start learning and reading and understanding more about how they're being smoked out and all this kind of stuff, and the stuff taken away from them,
Right. Because it's
and it
their
just
food stash. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, right. And so yeah, and we find the real information, and yeah, and we're a bit more clear, right? But it's a process, right?
Totally.
It takes time, and
Totally, totally. No, I agree. I agree. And that's why it's so good that you're open to learning. Just, you know, I'm open to learning, and so great that so many of us are open to learning and like tweaking, you know, just tweaking our knowledge as we go along so we can, you know, better inform people because we don't want to mislead anybody either. So we want to give them the correct information, inspire them, motivate them, and, you know, give them the tools to make the decisions for themselves.
yeah, and we want to be clear on our decisions, and why we've chosen the paths that we've chosen as well, right? Um, and and that gives us a sense of clarity and a sense of peace, knowing
Totally.
that why we're doing what we're doing. Because how often do we follow things and just not even know, and will we be conditioned by those things, and we should always be questioning, right? We should always be trying to be open, be thinking. I'm always open for new information on whatever, right?
Totally.
We're in very interesting times where the political landscape is changing all the time, right? And I don't know the answer to all of those, to why things are happening, and I need to listen and learn and understand and find my place with those things, and I don't know, try to be on the positive side of those things in a very negative, horrible world sometimes, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a great example. And I know I've definitely had to stretch myself this year as well to just be more open to, you know, different perspectives because, you know, this whole global pandemic has just opened up a whole Pandora's box of, you know, a whole can of worms of, you know, so many different points of view. And so it's a really interesting year for sure.
Yeah, and and very strong right-wing politics. I'm in the UK, where we're looking at Brexit and all of this kind of
Wow.
nonsense, and so there's a lot of factors out there to confuse us. But I kind of enjoying now with the pandemic that the news is about, look out for misinformation. I'm like, okay, could we have had that in all the rest of politics as well, please?
Like, where have you guys been for the last 10 years,
Yeah,
right?
can we put this on everything? Like 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 a stamp you'd see on cigarettes, right? Like, this broadcast might contain nonsense.
Misinformation. No,
Seriously.
that is such a good example. Like, seriously. Oh my gosh.
Well, I
Okay.
love I love that Twitter was calling out Trump, right, on a lot of the stuff that he was saying. And they were like, yeah, fact check, fact check. I was just like,
Yeah, no,
oh,
and fake news, you know, the whole fake news movement is
yeah, it's
really
so
just,
boring. Oh my
yeah,
God.
it's so hard to keep track of, really, truly.
And that's it. And they keep us. And this is the thing, like, so when we're trying to push our message of veganism as well, right? That there's, on the other side, they're trying to confuse people, right? And so just put out all of this, like, lots and lots of information, bombard people, and then they will become very confused, and they
Yes,
will, and regardless of whether it's true or not, there's just lots and lots of information to keep us confused. And
totally. Yeah, like, you know, your example, like, you know, what comes to mind for me is like people say, well, plants have feelings too, so why are you eating plants? Or, well, you can't get your protein from plants. You have to eat animals. Or, you know, Oh no, no, we have to eat, we have to consume dairy for calcium. Oh no, we can't get it from plants. And it's like, of course we can get all of the nutrients we need from plants. And so, like you say, there's so much misinformation.
Yeah, I do love how the hardcore steak eaters are so worried about the feelings of plants, though.
Oh gosh. I am just so shocked that someone could even come up with that, to be honest with you. And,
Yeah,
of course, the rebuttal to that is, well, plants don't have a nervous system, therefore they don't feel pain, therefore they're not suffering when you pick, a mango off of a tree, or, you collect a head of lettuce or something. I mean, they're not suffering, they don't have nervous systems. So,
sure.
but again, some people buy into that fake news.
Sure, but I think it's more about the individual, and I know I would have been about the individual feeling threatened, right? So you're saying that you're living this very compassionate lifestyle, and as a result of that, that means that I'm not,
Uh,
and I don't want to deal with that, and I don't want to, and I'm not a bad person, I'm a good guy. Why are you saying I'm a bad guy? I'm a good guy, but you haven't, and you're putting this information on me, and I need to kind of process that, and often, like history has always shown that our first reaction is either we flee or we fight, and I
yeah.
need to find some armor. So I'm like, well, plants have feelings, and I'm clutching on whatever, right? To try and feel okay about it, and that's okay, and that's why I kind of try to just have compassion and understand that, like, yeah, the, it's hard to process this information, and this person needs love and support.
Yeah, yeah. I just want to pause and say hi and thanks to anyone who's on the live here. And if you have questions or comments for Sebastian, you can just put them down below, and he'll be happy to answer. And I think your screen is freezing a little bit, and I'm not sure you can hear me, Sebastian. But my next question for you is newbies. So new vegans, vegan curious, vegan friendly people, when they come to you and they're interested in a vegan diet and lifestyle, what are a few of your tips for them?
Yeah, so I was just struggling with the connection there a little bit. So I think you're asking me what's my tips for people that are looking to become vegan.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So yeah, just being curious, and I would ask them, like, hey, why did you get curious about that? What is it about that you want to know and you want to understand? And just kind of treat people with compassion, with love, and I had a friend of mine, like, he was very aggressive to people. If they said, oh, I really want to do it, but I really love cheese, and they say, oh, but you're a rapist. Like, and just go very, which kind of just switched people off, right? And I just tried to come from this way of, like, saying, yeah, I know I was on that path for a long time, and I've changed, and these were the hurdles that I had to overcome. What are the things that you're struggling with? Why is it you want to look at this? And give some tips and advice, share some sites, share Happy Cow, like all these things that kind of made it easier for us to kind of go on our journey, and just let them know that, like, hey, hit me up if you want to ask any questions, you want to know anything. Yeah, I'm cool. Like, yeah, I'm here for you.
Yeah, and I love that you want to dig into, their why and also their challenges. Because I think a lot of times we, as vegans, we want to like just start giving advice, hey, substitute your breakfast, or substitute one meal a day, for a while until you get used to it, or substitute all of your dairy with plant dairy, etc. So we like to give a lot of advice, but I like your approach that you want to get to know them better as to what's motivating them and also what's tripping them up, what is derailing them from their goals.
Because, yeah, I mean, like, if I'm putting myself in a vulnerable position, right? And so I need to trust you. If if I'm saying like I need some support with something, or I'm trying to find something out. So we're saying I don't know something, or I'm weak in this area. That's a very vulnerable position to confess to, right? And so if somebody comes to me with this vulnerability, then I have to come back with love, because that's how we're going to build trust. That's how we're going to be okay with each other. And if I come back with anything but that, that's going to damage that relationship in some way. So why would they trust me? Um,
Mm.
that's my approach. That's my approach.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. So let's go to your future projects. Do you have any future projects, anything that you want to share at this time?
So I mean, the project is this. It continues, right? Just trying to get to every country and try to get those posts. It would be nice to try and do similar like you, like chatting with some people and getting some great stories. We've done a couple of those. Um, and then
Yeah.
I hope when the world is okay again, it would be nice to go and travel and visit, go to some places, right? And find some stories and find out what's going on. Because I figure as we go further on, we will struggle to get to some countries, right? Or to get to videos from those countries. So the hope would be to go there and find people. And if we can't find vegans, then I don't know. I guess it's going to be like missionaries bringing veganism to the people. I don't know. Going in that way.
Yeah, but I just had a thought because Sebastian, I was just thinking like if there are no vegans or in that area or perhaps no, let's say no vegan restaurants or cafes, like you or whomever you select could like even give vegan workshops, like a cooking workshop or a meetup or a kind of a meet and
Exactly.
greet or a
Yeah.
information session or something like that, and just kind of invite the community or invite if you get like a restaurant or cafe that's interested in collaborating with you, then it would be held at their place or whatever, and you'll just be there and open, you have your little booth or whatever, people can stop by, get information. So
Exactly.
that just kind of came to me. I was like, wow, like it's kind of like we say build it and they will come. So a lot of times it doesn't exist where you're going, like if you go to countries where you haven't found a vegan yet, but it's kind of like you build it, you build your little setup, and you're very welcoming, and then people just show up.
Exactly, and we can but try. I mean, I lived in Malawi for a little while, and so like the guys that I work with, they thought I was crazy, and so I was just like over time, more of the women I work with in the office were more convinced around the health aspect of veganism. So we talked a little bit about that, and then I found some guy that had a vegetarian restaurant there. And I became friends with him immediately because it was the only vegetarian restaurant in the country. And I talked to him about veganism, and he started putting some things on the menu, right? Um, and as he started putting things on the menu, he told me that like people were coming to him and saying like, "Oh, you have vegan things here?" Like mostly expats, right? That were kind of coming and being there. And they were like, "Wow, it's so cool! Like, I can't believe you've put this vegan stuff on the menu." And then he came back to me. He was an Indian guy living there, and he's like, "Oh, it's good for business, this vegan thing." I was like, "Yeah, it's great, right?" And he was like, "We will put more vegan things on the menu because it's good business." I was like, "Yep, good business. Let's go."
And I'm glad you brought that up because there's so much to say about what you just said, Sebastian, because recently I've learned about the vegan veto vote. So if there are a group of people going out and there are one or two vegans in the group will choose a location that's vegan friendly. So it's really in the best interest of businesses to offer vegan options because they're going to get the business. And I've also seen where, if there are vegan options on a menu, a lot of people, even though they're not vegan, they will choose those options, and they will, therefore increase the demand for those vegan options. So it really is a smart business move, besides being a smart ethical move. So that's a really great point a really great example that you brought up and a point too.
And it's just connecting with where people are, you know, and you know, and you go to some countries where they've been farming forever, and that's just been the way of life, and la la la. And you know, and who are we? You know, like for me, like living in Malawi, I'm a white guy from Europe coming there and telling them like, you know, how it should be, and like, and that comes with lots of ramifications, um, and you know, a lot of history and stuff, and and it's quite a difficult barrier to kind of go through, right? But I don't know. I think if we just kind of be these consistent, kind, loving people who see people for where they are at that moment in time, they see us, they see you, they trust you, and yeah, and hope, and that's about us trying to be influential, I guess, right?
Totally. Well, we have a few minutes left. So, if there's anybody here on the chat, if you have questions or comments for Sebastian, just put them down below. He'll be happy to answer. And meanwhile, we have a couple more questions for you here, Sebastian. So, what's the best way for people to contact you for information, collaboration, etc.?
I've got an email, which is vegan@everycountry.com. But the best ways, I think, is through here, through Instagram. Just get in touch with me directly, or on the Facebook group. You know, just drop us there. Instagram is the best way, though. That's how I'm hearing from most people. Yeah, anybody that wants to share the love and get people engaged, like, yeah, please, thank you.
Awesome. And my final question for you then is, first of all, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on and share Vegan in Every Country, your project, and it's just awesome. And secondly, I want to ask you to kind of close us out here. Any final thoughts you have for us today?
Yeah, so yeah, if you want to get involved, check out what we're doing, look at the posts that we've got. If you're in a country that hasn't been involved yet, or you know somebody, yeah, please drop us a line. This project only happens because people like you get in touch with us. And slowly but surely, we will find vegans in every country.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Thank you so much for ending like that. That was beautiful. So I want to thank you again, Sebastian, for this great conversation. I want to thank everyone who's watching either live or on the replay. Stories and my feed, and then I'll message you after.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take
Much
care.
love. Love what you're doing, Angel. Keep it going.
Thank you so much, Sebastian. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.